start rolling now at 6:30.
Okay, I'm good. I'd like to call it to order the Town of Ledyard Town Council Community Relations Committee regular meeting. For the record, I'd like to acknowledge that Roxanne Marr is here, administrative to the council, as is Councilor Ingalls and Councilor Soms. At this point, I'd like to ask for any citizen comments. I guess there's no citizens. Okay.
We're from out of town.
Informational items. We had an administrative assistant emailed out 10/22/20 to the mayor requesting a letter from the to go to the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation Social Justice, Equality, and Inclusion Subcommittee to reiterate the assistance policy Ms. Porter indicated in her October 16th, 2020 email to close the loop and eliminate the questions. That was related to the fact that there was a verbal arrangement in place for quite some time that talked about who was getting services from who. The purpose of the memorandum of understanding that went to the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation was to kind of memorialize that on a piece of paper between the town and the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation, so that there's no confusion between the two social service groups as they're giving services out to their respective parties. We also had the administrative assistant emailed out on 10/27 to the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nations Social Justice, Equality, and Inclusion Subcommittee an invite to our 11/18/2020 Public Informational Forum and to the January 2021 Community Relations Meeting. Hopefully, we haven't heard back for the January 2021 meeting yet, which I know it's pretty busy for them right now, as with everybody else. And hopefully they will attend the 11/18/2020 Public Informational Forum. At this time, I'd like to do a review and approval of prior minutes. Is there a motion to approve the following joint meeting minutes of September 24th, 2020 and the regular meeting minutes of October 20th, 2020?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Ingalls, seconded by Councilor Soms. We'll do a roll call vote. Councilor Soms?
Aye.
Councilor Ingalls?
Aye.
And Councilor Washington's aye. It passes with 3 yeses, no nos, and no abstentions. Thank you. Old business, discussion and possible action to draft the Community Relations Committee mission statement. I think that we won't get there until we go through and have our informational meeting relative to the police department, and then where we go from there. So I kind of want to put that on the back burner still. On that part.
Mike, I have a thought about that. I think we're overthinking it. I think we're doing it. We're intuitively doing the things that we know to do because we are addressing issues that have come to our awareness. I think we could probably knock this out in a sentence or two by describing what we are doing right now.
The question I have is, do we want to be, as we described, are we looking at, for as the Community Relations Committee, the police, social services, and delivery of town services? Is that the scope? Because I think that's what we can impact, because we can't force out on other individuals.
Correct. And the school issues are not we don't have authority over the school issues. So we are asserting our influence over the issues that we do have jurisdiction over. So we're aware of the issues with social services. We're aware of the questions surrounding our policing. And we are doing our due diligence to bring some education to the community on these issues and resolve other issues. So I think that the fact that we're doing, we are taking action means that we have some sense of what we should be about. I think that my bottom line is I think we are actually overthinking. So I think if we should just state our area of jurisdiction and state in simple, definable terms what we're doing and call it done.
Well,
So I agree it should be shorter. I'd still like to get some outside input on the mission. And the reason I think we should have one is my experience on the town center committee, because that committee we had the opportunity to wander all over the place. You know,
Right.
Should we look at this? Should we look at that? What should we look at? And we really kept coming back to the council charter statement that set up the committee to make sure we knew what our mission was. And we went back to that, sometimes a year or two later. So I do think we should have one. I agree it should be short, and I would like to get outside input.
That's all. I don't want to belabor it tonight because we're really not ready to discuss it further. But I am going to be thinking about it in far more concise terms.
Good.
And I'll just see if I can maybe throw something out there. Not for our next meeting, because that's going to be our forum with Chief Rich, but maybe for the following one, I'll see if I can come up with something that's concise that we can pick apart.
My hope is that based on the meeting we have with Chief Rich on the 18th, that part of that will spin off some discussion, and then having that one, and then kind of since people will see that, then have a kind of a general, just open forum of discussion of what people's concerns are. Because I think it's going to be relatively short, because it's got to be the concerns in which the council can address. So it's going to be the police department. It's going to be social. It'll be social services that the town can address, that the town impacts, or people receive from the town. So we're limited in what we can do to a certain degree. But I think the informational meeting coming up on the 18th, and I think a subsequent informational meeting would need to take place prior to nailing out the mission statement. But I definitely agree that the mission statement should be very short. It should be something that you can easily remember. It shouldn't take a full page of paper to do it. It shouldn't be more than maybe 3 or 4 sentences or 5 sentences. It should be something that's easy to generate, and it touches upon the 3 to 4 things that the council and this committee can actually address. So with that being said, everybody, I think we'll probably, in my opinion, I think we've got the 18th to go, and then one more informational, and then sit down and nail out what it's going to be. But, okay.
All right, moving on.
Okay. Will be a continuation of review and discussion of objectives and goals. I think that's going to flesh out to the mission statement. Continued discussion regarding community workshops and schedules. I'd like to wait till we do the one on the 18th to hopefully we're going to get enough people to come in and get involved and get some feedback from that can spark, so we can set up for the next informational, and then we can crunch out the mission statement, and we're off to the races and hit the topics that we need to hit. Does that seem reasonable?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, discussion regarding drafting a memorandum of understanding between the town and Ledyard. We've talked about that. We've already drafted it. We're waiting for a response from the town, from the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation. Ms. Potter has already indicated that to go with what we have, they're still doing some, I won't say wordsmithing, but they're still reviewing it. But it's by consensus, I would say they're in agreement with the concept. So we'll let that go. The mayor, we requested the mayor to send a letter to them on it, just memorializing that that's what we're going to be doing going forward.
Right.
I know I'm blowing through this stuff.
No, that's okay. Mike, I just want to make one more point.
Sure.
I know I've mentioned this multiple times, and in some ways I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but because this was such a question of contention, I think it bears mention again that it was 5 or more years ago, John Rodolico was mayor, when it was during the time when we were moving social services out of the town hall and into the Ledyard Congregational Church, that there was a meeting between the town and the tribe regarding social services. At that time, I was on the Social Services Advisory Committee, and I recalled the verbal guidance about the Pequots wanting to provide social services to their own tribal members. So when the question came up, over the summer, or I think it was sort of a leftover issue and frustration from last holiday season, I contacted John Rodolico as former mayor, and I said, "Hey, John, I recall this conversation, but maybe you would remember more, and maybe you have something in writing." He went back and checked his notes from that meeting. Hazel Gorman was there in person. There was a group of people from Ledyard's town hall who physically were at that meeting in person and who recall that verbal guidance. My point is simply this: that verbal guidance was from the tribe, and it was a statement that they simply wanted to first shot at taking care of their own, which is not an uncommon position for any people group. It's not. So while I understand the deep frustration and anger behind someone being denied services, the point was never to deny someone services. The point was always to honor the tribe's request that they be given the courtesy of taking care of their own. I just want that to be stated, because it is such an important perspective piece. To be clear, the town is not interested in denying people services. That's just not anybody's heart position. It was, so to be clear, it was always out of a desire to honor the tribe's request.
Well, thank you for that.
I feel like I've said it a million times, but I just want to say it one more time.
Well, I'll be blunt. And the tribe, we've given them memorandum of understanding. They have the ability now to memorialize it. The mayor is going to do the best he can, and that's what we're going to move forward with.
Right.
An absence of feedback on that memorandum of understanding, then as far as I'm concerned, that's going to be it's a done deal. We're moving on.
Sure, sure. And so, additionally, the email exchange with Lori Potter, she indicated that while they're working on reviewing the MOU from their end, that we go ahead and service tribal members who qualify. So great. We will do that. We'll be happy to do that. We just need to know what the tribe wants us to do, and we will honor that request.
It's
right. So that's a change in the verbal guidance that we were from the verbal guidance we were given 5-6 years ago, whatever it was. It's a change, and it's a change that we will honor.
And this may sound a little strange, but I find it interesting and a little bit discerning on one aspect. And I'm not a tribal member, but if I'm a tribal member and I'm living in Ledyard and I'm attached to the tribe and I own a house in Ledyard, I'm paying taxes to the town of Ledyard, then my take is I get to choose if I want to go to the town. It's my choice if I go to the town because I'm paying taxes to the town. So I don't know. So that's part of just my own process of thinking. I know the tribe may have had an issue where they wanted them to go there first, but I don't know how the town could tell somebody, just my perspective, that I'm paying taxes to the town for the house that's on taxable land in the town. I want services from the town. I can pick who I get my services from. It may not go well with people, but I don't think that's unreasonable. And I know the concern would be double dipping, but that this memorandum of understanding is going to resolve all that issue to some degree, I think. But so be it. The next, is there any other old business in front of us? Anybody wants to add? Seeing none, we'll talk about new business. Okay, discussion of the preparation for the public information forum scheduled for November 18, 2020. Roxanne, did you by chance send out to Police Chief Rich the topics for that informational that's going to take place on the 18th?
Yeah, based on your email, I forwarded him that same email under separate, cover. But if you'd like, I can send him the draft minutes because that kind of outlines everything that you talked about as well.
That would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's going to be doing kind of video presentation or anything like that he needs assistance with. The earlier we know that, the more helpful we can be in that process, I think. The other thing on that topic is I took the opportunity, and I've got so many stinking emails coming into in between here and my home. Not so much for town council stuff, but I took the opportunity to go on to one of the community free speech Facebook pages, and I kind of posted that information is coming up for February 18th. I know Councilor Soms was putting something together, and I apologize if I missed stuff on. But the goal was I put it on there so people will see it. I posted something on my Facebook page on it, and the whole idea is trying to just spark interest so people will show up and just participate, even if it's just coming back at a later time and watching the video at their own leisure, and then submitting questions or whatever back to the committee for review and discussion. And then it's something we could actually get in a written form for those who don't get to come to the meeting, get over to Chief Rich. And Councilor Soms and Councilor Ingalls, do you have anything you guys would like to add to that? And I'm talking fast and hot.
So I had agreed that I would create a Facebook event with Regina's help on the town Facebook page that we could all share. So what I've been waiting for, and I just clicked, I may have missed it, but I'm waiting for the actual meeting link for the 18th. And as soon as that's posted, that I was going to take that link and put it in the Facebook event. And then we'd have something, and I would, send you guys a draft of the announcement, like, the words that go with it. Hey, come to our meeting. And if you guys are in agreement with it, we'll create the event with Regina's help, and then we can, all three of us, start sharing that on our own Facebook pages and any and everywhere else.
That sounds great. So,
excellent.
To Roxanne, I went on to see for the schedule for the 18th. When do we grab the access for the WebEx meeting? Is that something that could be made available relatively soon?
Yeah, I can set that up anytime you want. I mean, I can set it up tomorrow or tonight. I usually wait till right before when I send out the agenda, I usually do them together. Because I need the info to put on the agenda. So I usually put out the WebEx meeting and then the agenda, but I can send it out at any time.
Could you do that I know you're on vacation and God bless you. So could you do that for Monday?
Yeah, I can send it out tomorrow.
Okay, so that would be great.
In my opinion, a full week to 8 days is probably enough. I fear that much longer than that, people are gonna, I know this is what I do. I look at a date and I'm like, oh, that's 2 weeks away. And I dismiss it thinking it will come back around. And then the next thing I know, I've missed it. So I would really recommend that. Like, I feel like about a week is the sweet spot.
Well, my thought process was not so much that we have the posting, but getting everything set up so that Bill would have that information available for what that call-in would be, that WebEx meeting.
Right. Yeah. So I could send that just to you three. I could send that information to just you three, and then you three can paste it into your Facebook things so people would have it, so the public would have it.
Well, the premise here would be that if it gets to Bill would put the document together. I'm going to speak out of turn for you, Councilor Soms. He would put the document together, and then we would follow behind him for our posting, so that what would happen is Bill post, we'd all post, so it'd be consistent across the board. And as Councilor Ingalls said, doing it later next week to actually get it out, but just have it sitting ready to go.
Right. Yep. So, but I have to schedule it to get those numbers. So I can send it to all three. Well, I'll just send it to Bill and myself, and then I'll forward it out to you guys again next week. But then you would have it for your announcement to put those numbers in the announcement.
Perfect.
Good.
Any further discussion on that?
No,
Steve?
if you just tell me though what you want on, so I'll know what to also post. I can post the same thing in the clerk's office next week. But so if you send it to me, Bill, also whatever that's going to say.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Form. Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. The next topic is to discuss the Connecticut Conference for Municipalities CCM October 28, 2020 Communities Advancing Racial Equity Series Eastern Connecticut CARES Program. I did not get in there.
I did not either. Well, because it was it was Wednesday night. We were all in meetings.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Did you watch the recording, Bill?
No, I didn't. I forgot about it.
That's recorded? I didn't know that.
I'm not even sure of that.
I don't think that's recorded.
You know what? That's a good question. I'm assuming because any CCM webinar I've done has been recorded. So if I've registered for it and wasn't able to attend live, I'm typically sent a registration link, a recording link. So I'm just assuming, but maybe it's not available recorded.
Oh, I'll have to look into that.
You know, I didn't think to register for it. I indicated I was going on the Facebook event, and I haven't heard anything more other than reminders about it, and we didn't go. So
yeah, well, maybe
I'll
they didn't.
check and see if there is, and if there's a recording, I'll send it to you guys.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Is there any other new business? Well,
Good.
Seeing none, then I will call this meeting adjourned at 6:52 without exception.
Good job.
Thank you. Night, everybody.
Roxanne, run.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.